Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed Cervantes. I'm the outreach specialist at OCC, and thank you so much for joining us, Vivian and Sage today, and all the students that will be able to have access to this later on. We want to thank you for choosing to see our video and learn more about our early childhood education that we have at OCC. But with that being said, I'm gonna pass it over to our experts, which we have Keisha and Kara here from that area. So, ladies, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Hello, everybody. My name is Kara Jones, and I'm one of the part-time faculty on the early childhood team here at OCC. I must say we have a really wonderful team. Keisha and I are part of it, but there are many, many others that make up this team. We do have 3 full-time faculty that you'll hear of a lot if you decide to take courses in our department, Lori, Jenny, and Jeanette. But right now, Keisha and I will be lucky enough to share all this information with you. I teach several courses, but we're very familiar with all of them. I've actually been through this program as a student at OCC, so I'm very, very familiar with your guys' issues and where you're at. And I'm really excited to tell you some more.
Hi, everybody. I'm Keisha Williamson Champion, and I'm new to OCC. However, I've been in the field of early care and education a long time, so long that I've been through 3 or 4 different name changes. But one of the things we are excited to talk with you about is an opportunity to change the life of a child, to change the life of a family, to even change your own life, and to look at a career working with children between birth and 3rd grade. So that's the one thing people don't always think about when they think about early care and education or child development. Child development studies goes from birth, even prenatal information, birth to 3rd grade, so children who are 8 years of age. Jenny, Tara, want to talk about this?
Yeah, so as Keisha said, this field is really diverse. A lot of people think of early care as really young children, but there are so many different possibilities for this field. So for anybody who's interested in working with children, we always say teacher is a very, very popular choice and a very common, familiar choice. But there are so many other things that you can do with this field. And a lot of people are just starting out like, I do love working with children, but I don't know quite exactly what that looks like, or I'm not sure where I fit. So these are some of the options that are available to you. And they range from, again, being a teacher from infants, toddlers, preschool, all the way through our transitional kindergarten, which we have now, standard kindergarten, and also the early primary grades. We also have special intervention, which works with children with special needs or that need any type of support or therapy. This is a really effective field to do as young as possible. So the sooner you can get that intervention, the more impactful it will be. There are also things like family work where you can work with families. You could have a childcare in your home. You can work with doing home visits as well. Some other options that you could do if you're interested in perhaps like the medical field is a child life specialist. And that's when you're actually working in a hospital setting with children. So you'd be going into a hospital, you'd be playing with them, doing activities. Sometimes you even are able to work with siblings or family members who are in the hospital with the child. And that is a really good option for people who might think, oh, I want to do nursing or pediatrics, but then maybe you don't want all of that anatomy and medical side. This is a really nice option. Some other things you could do are things like being a social worker, helping support families and children. Same goes for providing resources for them. You could be a resource and a referral specialist. Oftentimes in early education, providing resources is one of the main things that families really need support with, giving them options and places to get those types of help. And also, you could be one of us someday if you want. If you want to go a little bit
Absolutely.
higher and make a difference with, who those future teachers will be, who these early educators will be and how they're educated. I will say from experience, it's a really rewarding job. I love my job. I've worked with the very little ones all the way now to adults. So it's very fulfilling. It's very rewarding. And if you're into more of the book side, maybe you want to create some of this content, especially right now, we're seeing a lot of increase in resources. So if you want to be a part of that process of creating videos or textbooks or resources in any format, these are all possibilities. I know that's a lot kind of thrown at you on one slide, but there are just so many different options. So don't feel like just because you want to work with kids and you've heard teacher, that that's the only path for you.
Absolutely. Actually, I always talk about to students and say teachers actually just the first step, because there's coaching, there's mentoring, and so on. I actually have a really good friend who's a probation officer, and he went back to school and took child development classes so he could better understand some of his clients, what's happening with their families, and so on. So there's lots, the sky honestly really is the limit. And I think a lot of people say that about their careers. And I believe we say that, Kara, because we're so passionate about what we do, but we really see that this is the sky's the limit. And it's a great foundation to anywhere else you want to go. Because for me, I was in retail for a long time. I loved retail. It's always been my second love. And I used more of my child development classes and working with the coworkers and people coming into the retail store than sometimes I did even in the classroom.
Absolutely. That's a really good point, because everybody was a child at some point. So you can relate to all of this content. And if you decide to have children of your own, this is really useful information. And just working with people, we really focus on people and how everybody learns. So this can really be useful to any field, any person.
Absolutely. And this goes right into our next slide. So we want to talk to you about our philosophy. And so it's not just Kara and my philosophy, it's the philosophy of our department. And it's also the philosophy that you'll find in many programs and also in other colleges too. But we really believe in taking a look at how we're preparing you for working with children. Because what we want you, one of the things we talk about a lot is being the teacher you always wanted. And what does that look like? What does it look like to be the teacher you always wanted? Beyond just telling people what to do, beyond just, holding babies and helping them learn, there's so much more to it than just the ABCs or the stories and so on. Because as we say too, we have the future of the world in our hands when children come into our program. So you are allowing them and supporting them in being whatever they want to be. And you might be the first introduction into their exploration into, like, for example, one of the stories I share a lot is we had a rat in our class. Yes, R-A-T. And so I didn't appreciate rats until I spent some time with Ratty the rat. Now I appreciate them in a totally different way. So that's a perfect example of the philosophy of embracing, what education looks like. So when we talk about our philosophy of being an early care and education professional, we're talking about looking at your life beyond just this being a teacher. It's more than a career. It's not just about a test. And here at OCC, we also see early childhood education or child development courses as a foundation, even to going into secondary or high school. Even if you want to gain a PhD, we believe that this is very important because of all of the elements that we look at we address. We talk about culture. We look at the importance of language development. We look at the importance of the social influences. And right now, everyone is talking about the social and emotional development, not just of children, we're talking about it of our adult students as well. We've been having several conversations throughout the country about that and how it's so important and how we use those to shape who the children want to be, who they become. And we believe that everything that children should be exposed to and how children learn is through play. Now, some people might think play is a 4-letter word, and we agree, it is a 4-letter word. It's a 4-letter word that is meant to be, children should be exposed to play, children should participate in play, children should guide the play, they should lead the play, we should participate with them. The way they learn is playing. And so we want to continue to allow that to be the foundation and allow that to be the energizing force to engaging them. And then when we look at the coursework we have, our coursework emphasizes both the theory and the practice. So you might think, oh, theory. And then, well, why can't I just learn how to do it? Why can't I just spend some time, playing with the children in the sandbox or in the water play table or singing some songs to them? Singing songs is theory. Piaget talked about singing songs. Vygotsky talked about it. So it's all a part of that. Kira, you want to add something to that?
I think you covered it really well. I think when we talk about play, it's really a whole philosophy and lifestyle for the field. And children really are learning while they're playing. So if you hear someone say, I've had parents come pick up their children and say, what did you do besides play all day? And for me as the teacher, I'll say, we played all day long and we learned all of these amazing things. And so it's really nice to be able to show others the value of playing, because it really is children's work and the way that they learn.
Absolutely. We could talk all day about that.
Yes, definitely. We do have some certificates available, and this is just one option for your path in either continuing your education, or if you're not going to transfer, if you're not going to continue your education anywhere other than OCC. These are some great options for you. And these are our certificates of achievement, and we offer them in 4 different categories. So the first one is if you're interested in working with infants and toddlers specifically. This offers courses that you need to be hired in an infant and toddler classroom. If you're working in any type of childcare or preschool or program like that, you do need specialized units to work with those populations, and this will provide you with that. This is a really nice option for those of you who want to also make yourselves more marketable, because if you have those classes, you can say, hey, I've taken that. I know about infants. I know how to work with babies. And then they can place you in that room, even if it's not your typical role. Let's say a teacher called in sick and they need someone in that room, you would be qualified for that. So it's really nice to give yourself options. Another role that we have, or certificate we have, is the Associate Preschool Teacher Certificate. And this is good for anybody who is interested in being an associate or an assistant teacher in a preschool classroom. This is also good for anybody who's continuing in the field. This is a really nice benchmark, a really good accomplishment, because you can get this and still continue on to our other certificates as well. But with this one, we are hoping that you're going to be an amazing, high quality assistant teacher. You're going to be able to support any teacher in your classroom with planning activities and knowing about how children develop, understanding that value of play, and all of the things that Keisha just talked about. We also have a preschool teacher certificate, and this is more focused on being a lead teacher in a classroom. So this is building on the Associate Preschool Teacher Certificate. This preschool teacher one, you will hopefully be able to run a classroom on your own. You will be able to plan curriculum. You'll be able to really observe children and understand what they want and what they need, how to support them, understand what is developmentally appropriate for that age group. And This one is what we are hoping all of our students obtain before this, or the infant toddler one, depending on which age group calls to you, is what we're hoping everyone will leave with, at least when you leave OCC. Both of those will really prepare you for the field. If you're looking to go beyond that, and if you're interested in more of a leadership role, we also have an administration certificate. And this allows you to manage, supervise, or direct in an early childhood program. So once you've completed the infant toddler certificate or the preschool teacher certificate, once you have completed one of those, you would be eligible to complete the administration certificate. And this certificate focuses more on how to run this program. It's not necessarily about being in the classroom all day, every day, because that's what we're teaching you with the other certificates. This is more about managing, how to work with a team, how to supervise others that you're working with. So that one is much better for somebody who's looking to really grow and possibly get into those higher position occupations or roles.
If you're wanting to open up your own school, even be a family child care provider in your home, that course is also really good for that. Additionally, a lot of the information I received from this course is what I used when I was in retail management and also in some of my other management positions that I've had in life. And then all of these courses are also available for, and if you want to work with a Head Start program or a school program, either a state-funded preschool or state-funded school, federally funded school, or if you want to open your own program, a private program. All right. So we have some Associate of Science degrees. We actually have 3. We have just like that infant toddler teacher, you can get a degree, Associate of Science degree as an infant toddler teacher. This would allow you to also go work as a lead teacher in an early Head Start program. You can also work and be the lead teacher and also move into a state or a federally funded program. We have the preschool teacher AS degree, and then again, an early childhood administration degree as well.
And with the Associate of Science degrees, this is basically you completing the certificate in one of those categories, plus general ed courses. So that's
Correct.
Really the difference, is that you're getting not just our major, but also the general ed to pair with it.
Yes, thanks, Kara, for reminding me about that as well. And then you can also, so we talked about some of these other occupations you can go into. So you can have a AS degree, like a preschool teacher AS degree, and then you can go into one of the other areas. You can go into the medical field, you can go into the probation or a police officer field, etc. So again, that gives you a great professional foundation to build a career on top of.
We also have what we call associate degrees for transfer. And this is a really nice option for those who are interested in transferring to a Cal State. And what it does is it actually prioritizes your admission to a local CSU somewhere here in Southern California. And what it does is it's basically the same requirements as the associate's degree in one of those categories, except it has some added benefits, like 1, getting a bigger admission rate. 2, it also gives you a little boost in your GPA. So if you're maybe concerned that you won't get accepted to a certain school, this will boost your GPA and maybe give you that qualification. But we have them in 2 different majors or 2 different specializations. We have an early childhood one where it would be an AST and ECE. I know that's a lot of letters, but an AST and ECE is all of the general ed that we talked about for the associate's degree, plus 24 units in our major. So that would be early childhood. If you did this option, you could complete your certificate, you can complete your AST, and potentially your AS. So you could leave OCC with 3 different things. And if you get more than 1 certificate, even more than 3 things,
It's
which
even better.
is really, really amazing if you do that. We also have an elementary education teacher transfer degree, and that one is an AA. So the only difference is one is an associate in science and one is an associate in art. And they're just 2 different categories. There's no real differentiation of their meaning or their value. The elementary education one has more units for your major, which would be elementary education, because it's a lot more general ed. You take a lot more classes like math and history and literacy, all of those things, because you're working with elementary, which is typically a different system than a lot of what we talk about in like preschool and childcare early ed programs. So what we would hope in an ideal world is that if you're interested in being an elementary teacher and this is the route that you want to take, you can get your AAT in elementary. And then when you transfer, you can still major in child development, because like we kind of emphasized before, child development and early education is really about how to teach young children. What we typically see with people who are choosing a liberal studies degree is that you're learning a lot of general education. So you're learning a lot of facts, you're learning a lot of concepts, but in our major, we really focus on the practice and how to teach children. So it's not just that you're learning about one age or one way to teach, we're really teaching you how to teach others so you can apply it to any age group.
Not only are we teaching you about how to teach children, we're also talking to you, and every class has a component of that child's family, that child's culture and upbringing. What are the elements in the community and the things affecting that child? Because attachment and those are all important concepts and all important developmental things that you need to know. You're in high school right now. Think about the person that you're in a study group with. Think about the person sitting behind you. Think about your own teacher and the teachers. Think about how would it be, wouldn't you love to know what their life was like and how they turned out the way that they are? A lot of that had to do with their early childhood. And so when you're working with other people, especially as an elementary teacher, a middle school teacher, a high school teacher, etc., it helps you to understand where they're coming from emotionally, socially, cognitively, and physically. As you can tell, we are, we can talk about these kinds of things all day. Okay, so what we're also excited for you to know, what we want you to know is currently, we love our courses so much that you can find our courses in 3 different areas. You can find our courses listed as EC, meaning early childhood. You can find them in human development, which is HMDV, obviously, and you can find them in education. The other thing we want to share with you is we have a designated counselor. His name is Tom Choi. If you haven't already, feel free to write his name down or put his name something, or you can even put it in your Zoom for later. And he's the designated counselor for child development. So when you come to our campus, you decide to come to OCC, you can meet with Tom, and he knows all about our programs. If you say to Tom, I heard Kara and Keisha talking about this life specialist. What is that? What does that do? And so he can talk to you all about the courses you have to take and so on. So we highly recommend spending some time with Tom and getting to know him, setting up an appointment with him and so on. He is pretty popular, so be sure that you plan accordingly when you set up that time with him.
All right, so these are some of the things that you'll learn in the courses that we just talked about, whether it's early childhood, human development, or education, you're going to be covering topics like these. You're going to be learning about theories and stages of development. That is one of the most basic courses that you will take, or one of the first courses that you will take, child growth and development. You learn a lot about how children develop. And that's the foundation of understanding their development and how to give them what we call developmentally appropriate practices. This is really teaching to their ages, to their individual personalities and abilities, to their culture. This is tailoring your education to be very individualized to support each and every learner that you work with. We also have some classes that are very, very hands-on, and we have classes, just a couple of them are called Creativity for Children, Language Arts for Children, Math and Science for Children, and all of those are very focused on planning these open-ended experiences for children. And so you learn how to set up paint, you learn how to make a flannel board story, you learn things like how can I incorporate math and science into other activities? How do I make all of these activities really creative for children to be able to express themselves and also learn at the same time? We also have an observation class, and you will do several observations probably through almost every single class that you take, where you're able to observe children and document their play. This is how we really apply all of the theory that we're talking about. So you can see it in action and you can get real life examples. Keisha, do you want to talk about curriculum?
Absolutely. So Kara knows I love curriculum. I actually am teaching one of our curriculum courses. We have more than one curriculum course. And in the curriculum courses, it's your opportunity to take a look at why is it that we utilize play, and how is that play utilized in children's learning, in the learning environment. We talk about the learning environment and how there's something that we say in child development. We say the classroom is the third teacher. So, and you get an opportunity to learn, to discover, and to observe and learn children playing in the learning environment, how to set up activities in the learning environment, and so on. Another important piece to all of what we do and all of what you'll be exposed to is also our diversity and our anti-bias curriculum course. This is also one of my favorite courses, and it's one of my favorite courses because you actually have a chance to really dive in and talk about our differences, our similarities. We talk about isms, we talk about stereotypes, we talk about how is it that we can create environments where children can have a sense of belonging, for children to have a sense of being welcomed, and their families as well. And so as you can imagine, this is the diversity class has been around forever. I know it's a really exciting and hot button topic right now. And so it's one of the courses I know that you're gonna love as well. Now, Kara and I both teach the homeschool and community relationships class. We love that class. Well, we kind of love all of our classes, right?
Yes.
In the homeschool and community class, you also talk about diversity. We talk about culture. We have the most wonderful conversations about upbringing and parenting style. And what was your community like? What neighborhood did you grow up in? And how were you socialized? Who socialized you? What we talk about learning theories like Gardner's multiple intelligences. And that's one of my favorite conversations, because I love that Gardner says, it's not, are you smart? The question is, how are you smart? Like, wouldn't you love it if the very first teacher you ever approached said to you, or the very first classroom you were in, and they said to you, Kara, how are you smart? Wouldn't that be great? So that's one of the things we love, that discussion. And then, of course, we want to talk to you about guidance strategies, because you have all of these children in your classroom. So a lot of times people say, now what? And in some situations, you might be one teacher in a group of 24 to 30, 35 students, including kindergarten, which are some of the things we're working on changing. There's a lot of advocacy happening too. We have to add to that. So, but how do you strategize? How do you, how do you manage a classroom? Because, and this whole concept of a democratic classroom, what does that mean, right? And how does that work? And then there's so many more that we don't have enough time to tell you about them, but you're going to love them all and you're going to want to do them all.
There's one other one that I want to tell you quickly about before we move on. And I just want to mention that we also have courses that you do get to practice working with children, and you get that hands-on learning experience. And we have a practicum course and a field experience course. These are both when you are actually in a classroom working with children, and you're able to learn that role of being either the assistant teacher or the lead teacher. So we actually have two different childcare programs on site at OCC. We have the Harry and Grace Steele Children's Center, which is a full day program. And we have our lab school, which we work very, very close with both of these programs. And students in, normal times would go there and do observations and projects and observe. And hopefully we're going to be returning to that soon. But really what we're looking at with those classes is giving you that real practice, being able to apply all of these concepts that you're learning in class to working with children. That way, when you get a job, it's not your first day and you're so nervous and intimidated or whatever it may be. You're going to feel really confident in your abilities because you've had that experience. You know what it's like to work in a classroom. You know how a classroom is run. You know how to work with your co-teachers. You know what parent interaction is like, all of those things that are a little bit intangible until you actually get to live them.
Absolutely. So we want to stay connected with you, and we would love for you to stay connected with us. So the early childhood department actually has a Facebook page and an Instagram. If you have a chance, maybe you can go on right now. And if you want, take a picture of us. We can even pose for you. And you can just tell us one word, 2 words, or 3 words about your time with us together, that you had with us together. Also, Lori Campbell is our department chair. There's her email. You're welcome to send her an email as well. You can actually find myself and Kara and all of our emails in the directory for Orange Coast College directory. And we would love to hear from you.
We are a really friendly, welcoming group, I must say. We work really well together. We all love what we do. We all love this field. That's why we're here. So we are more than happy to help you guys. We want to support you. We want you guys to be successful. And feel free to reach out to anybody that you see in the child development or early childhood department here. And I'm sure they will be more than hopefully you expect, give you all the information you need. Absolutely. Another thing that we have on campus, not on campus right now, but one thing that we are doing now is having the Early Childhood Club. So if you are interested in being more active or, have a sense of membership to our department and some extracurricular activities, then feel free to join us. We are open to everyone. You don't have to be an early childhood major. It just so happens that most of our members are interested in this field. But in the club, we are meeting virtually, just like this, and we are having things like guest speakers come. We do a topic on registration and what classes to take and what the class assignments look like, so you know kind of where you should be. We also do a lot of activities and workshops where we teach you how to do things like flannel stories or story stones we've done in the past. We've done sensory workshops. So we have a lot of activities that we do, but it's also nice just to have a sense of community. And if you're wanting to make more friends, meet new people, network with other people in this field, this can be an option for you. I happen to be the advisor for the club, so if you want, my email is on the flyer here. You're more than welcome to email me with any information. If you want to just kind of get updates every now and then, I'm more than happy to give those to you. I can email you. You can put your email either in the chat or reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to give you some more information.
And that ends our presentation. So let me stop sharing.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to watch our presentation. I really hope that anybody who's interested in working with children comes and joins us at least for a class or two to see if it's for you, and hopefully we'll grab you and drag you into this wonderful field of ours.
I want to echo that what Kara said. Also, one of the things I want you to leave away with is one of my favorite sayings is, I'm not a teacher, I'm an awakener. So when you come to our classes, you have an opportunity to not only stay awake and be awakened, but to become an awakener. Like, what better thing would there be to be?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Sage, I know thank you for being with us. Are there any questions, Sage, that you have for Kara or Keisha?
Nothing that I can think of at the moment.
Okay, no problem.
Well, thanks, Sage, for hanging out with us.
Yeah, I had a quick question for Kara and Keisha with regards to perhaps scholarships. Are there scholarships available for students who are part of the program at our campus?
Yes, we do have scholarships available. You're able to apply to all of the open scholarships through OCC's website. It actually was just scholarship season, or is right now. Students are being selected for scholarships, but we actually have scholarships specifically for our early childhood department. So we have one that we typically give to someone who is finishing their journey and one who's starting out their journey. So we have something for kind of everyone. And we are a little bit of a smaller department. We're very close knit. So we get to know a lot of our students really well. And we encourage all of our students to apply, and you have a really good chance of getting one.
Excellent. With regards to students like Sage or anybody interested in coming to OCC and besides applying and perhaps taking a few general ed classes, are there any classes right now that you would recommend a first-time student taking, who just wants to take a beginning class? What should I start at?
Absolutely. I believe that I would say our Human Development 190, it's the Child, Family, and Community Partnerships class. I believe that class encompasses everything for students. It's one of the classes we highly recommend for anyone, especially someone coming into college who might be new to the college setting, who might still be figuring out some things. It's a GE transfer. It's a transfer to CSU. It's also, I believe it's a UC transfer too, as well. So you can take this class and it won't be a waste of time. And we gave a little bit of information about it already. Another class is the theory class. I would say the 190 HMDV 190 first, and then the 180, which is the theory class. I feel like the 190 class gets your feet wet and kind of gets you a little bit into the water. And then 180, you're ready to jump into the deep end, you're surfing, you're doing some stuff. So that is the theory class. And you learn a lot. It actually allows you the opportunity to go back, and the things that you learned probably from high school or other areas, you'll hear about Erikson and Freud and Piaget. Those are theorists, and they're very popular names, but you actually get a better understanding as to what their theory means to you in everyday life. And then any of the curriculum classes, I would also say, are great classes to come into. Are classes that are really, they're practical, meaning they're hands-on. You can really get your creative juices going. It allows you to do some reflection, to use your imagination, and so on. Kara, what do you think about that question?
So I definitely agree with Human Development 180 and 190. Both of those are very good introduction classes. And the fact that they count as general ed courses means you kind of get to double dip. You're getting double credit. You're getting
That's
the
right.
early childhood credit, but also the general ed credit. And those units will transfer with you if you decide to transfer somewhere. So those are both really useful classes to start out with. I would also say our principles and practices of teaching young children. That class is kind of the foundation of how children learn. It really explains our play-based philosophy, and that is a prerequisite for several other courses in our major. So right now it's labeled as EC 155, Principles and Practices. That is another one that I would recommend taking sooner than later in your journey.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So just Sage, and for any other students who watch this, what are the next steps of what will happening? Well, you already applied and you have a MyCoast username and password and student number, and that's why you're logged in today. But after that, then you can complete an online orientation, which you'll find on your MyCoast portal. You should also meet with a counselor to create what we call a student education plan for the fall or summer semesters or both. As you saw, there is a specific counselor you might want to work with or make an appointment with for early childhood, but you can see any counselor. And if you do those two things, then what Orange Coast College will give you is priority registration. So one of the reasons students look for priority registration is because it gives you a little bit more of an opportunity to get classes that are hard to get and tend to fill up quick. So if you do those steps, which is, once again, do an SEP with the counselor, student education plan, do your online orientation, then in all likelihood, you'll get a mid-June registration date. That is when we start registering at Orange Coast College. We don't register students in May like other community colleges might. We start our registration in June. So early registration for those that are high school students that are just graduating would be mid-June if you're not part of the DSPS, EOPS, because if you're part of one of those two programs, then you get to register earlier. But if you're just a student not going through any of those two programs, then you can register in mid-June, and that's what we want to get you. Now, if you miss your registration date, it's okay. You have basically from that day that we give you all the way up to the classes when they start up in August to register. Now, do you want to wait that long? Probably not. You want to register as soon as possible so you get some of these early education classes all set and some of the other general ed classes that fill up, okay? So with that being said, thank you so much for joining us today, this afternoon. And once again, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We do have very friendly staff on our campus, faculty, staff, anyone is willing to help, but you have to ask. And if you do, we will help you, okay? So thank you, Sage, for joining us, and hopefully we see you at OCC either in the summer or in the fall. Take care.
Congratulations, Sage, on ready to move on, and we're looking forward to seeing you in a class.
Thank you for joining us.